I'm very impressed with the exhibition which shows this beautiful enigmatic painting of Bosch called The Garden of Earthly Lights. I'm just thrilled with the way the curators of the exhibition are showing this painting and open it up to a wide public, a painting that originally probably was meant only to be seen by a very, very small group of people, nobles belonging to the Burgundian court at the very end of the 15th century and the beginning of the 16th century, around 1500. At the time, we think that painting was created by a master who came from Bosch, currently in the Netherlands. And this painter got the commission to paint a huge triptych consisting of representations of hundreds and hundreds of figures that no one has ever seen before and that actually no one has even repeated. Painters have been inspired, filmmakers have been inspired by this painting, but no one has actually even dared to really copy this painting, to imitate it. It is unique in its own kind. And one of the striking things that we see when we visit the Prado Museum in general, but certainly also in this exhibition, quite different from the way that I'm standing now by myself in front of this painting, is that most of the time you find many, many people at the same time looking at the painting, being fascinated by it, discussing, being in conversation with each other, what it could mean, what this phantasmal world could actually mean, not only for us now, but perhaps for people 500 years ago when this painting was created. What we can say is that because it is such unique forms that he used, that the people at the time must have been as bewildered and fascinated as we are nowadays. So maybe the function of the painting is to start a conversation and not stop it. So that people, art historians, other people who are fascinated by the painting may have differences of opinion about the painting and are in discussion with each other about it, actually in a way fulfill the mission of the painting to stay in conversation with each other and with the painting. If you imagine that at the time when it was created and probably was commissioned by a Count of Nassau, Henry III of Nassau, who was one of the very high nobles at the Burgundian court, who organized lavish parties, we know in his Brussels palace, where this painting was seen for the first time in 1517, 1 year after Bosch had died. We can imagine how people must have been in discussion with each other and pointing out to each other, I see this, no, I see this, and start to explain how they understand an individual motif. And when you look at the painting, you see that in the painting itself, you see figures pointing, or they're whispering to each other. They have secrets that we don't know about, that we would like to know. And it is striking to realize that what the people are doing standing in front of the painting, let us say during one of these lavish parties that the Count organized, that these discussions and pointing to the figures is exactly the same as what we see the figures doing inside the painting. So from that we may infer that there is a kind of a mirror situation implied between the painting and the viewers. We viewers are the partners, if you will, of all these naked figures standing in front of us. Now, they are in conversation with each other, and conversation in the late Middle Ages meant not only talking to each other, but being engaged in bodily activities, play. And if you look at the painting and see its, let's say, its erotic nature of the activities of many of the naked figures inside the painting, then one can say that the conversation of these courtly naked figures has both a verbal but also a bodily component. So to call this painting a conversation piece, a term that only came into being in the 18th century, is actually a very apt word to describe not only what we are doing in front of the painting, but what the figure's doing inside the painting. And if we realize this mirror relationship between the people in conversation inside and outside the painting, would that mean that the painting tells us, courtly viewers, about our own, say, erotic adventures? And that we should see these erotic adventures in the context of the history of the world, that starts with the creation by God in the beginning of time, and that will end at the end of time for many people, possibly in hell.